I'd like to welcome you back, and today we're going to be talking about chapter 13. Now, chapter 13 is a very interesting book. It's probably the most notable chapter in the book of Revelation because it deals with the number 666, and everybody talks about the mark of the beast. That's what we're going to be covering today. The theme of this chapter is the rise of the Antichrist and his global governance. Antichrist. Anti has two meanings. It can mean against. It can also mean instead of. It can be a substitute, according to J. Vernon McGee. I'd like to go through what is called the Antichrist, and it's a contrast between Christ and the Antichrist. And this was written by an author years ago, Arthur W. Pink. Let me go through these with you very quickly. One is called the Christ, the other the Antichrist. One is called the man of sorrow, the other is called the man of sin. One is called the Son of God, the other is called the son of perdition. One is called the seed of the woman, the other is called the seed of the serpent. One is called the Lamb, and the other is called the beast. Christ came down from heaven. The Antichrist comes up out of the bottomless pit. Christ cleanses the temple. The Antichrist defiles the temple. One is called the Holy One, and the other is called the Wicked One. One is called the Truth, and the other is called the Lie. One is called the Prince of Peace, the other wicked, profane prince. One is called the Glorious Branch, the other the Abominable Branch. One is called the Good Shepherd, the other is called the Idle Shepherd. Christ was rejected of men. The Antichrist will be accepted by men. Christ was slain for the people, and the Antichrist will slay the people. Now we also move into Satan is an imitator. He's a great imitator. That's all he does. He's a reflection of what God does, and it's reversed in the mirror. So let's look at that. First of all, God has a son. His name is Jesus. Well, Satan's got a son also. He's called the son of perdition. Not only that, but Jesus was born of a woman, and the Antichrist will be born of a woman. Jesus dies a martyr's death. The Antichrist also is killed. Jesus is raised by the Father. The Antichrist is raised by Satan. After the resurrection of Jesus, people worshiped God. After the resurrection of the Antichrist, the people will worship Satan. God uses a mark on the forehead to protect his chosen. Satan gives the mark 666 on the forehead or the hand.
Revelation 13. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
The term sea in Revelation represents humanity. He will be a human.
And he saith unto me,
The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Just like the word rapture is not found in the book of Revelation, strangely enough, the name Antichrist is not used in the book of Revelation. He's called the beast. Now, in 1 John 2:18, by John, also wrote the book of Revelation, he also wrote this, Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist, that's a singular person, shall come. Even now are there many Antichrists, by which we know that it is the last time. For the Antichrist to come to power, he needs certain things to happen. One, he needs a global communication system. We do have a global communication system. You know, with satellite technology, we now have cell phones that can reach around the world within seconds. It used to be by mail, it used to be by telegraph. Now, instantly. Now, if you're going to rule the world, you can't have months to get orders out. You have to have it immediately. So through television, through the internet, through telephone, all these communications make it very easy for the Antichrist. Not only that, but you need to have open borders. John Kerry was speaking at Northeastern, and he was speaking to the graduating class. He said this, you will be the first group of people to ever have a borderless society. See, you can't have a one world leader and have borders. See, borders secure that person's identity. That person who is like the President of the United States. The President of the United States only has sovereignty in the United States. He doesn't have anything to say in China and Russia. So if you're going to be a one world leader, you can't have sovereignty all over the world. You have to have an open border. Not only that, but you need a global economic system. And we have that today, and we'll be looking at that later. But when you talk about the World Bank and everything, it's all being set up right now. You need a global religion. Now, that global religion happens to be nature worship. Throughout the Old Testament, these people who were always against God, all the false religions, had to do with nature. They always worshiped among the groves. Well, as we get into this session, we'll also see that this too is nature religion against God. It's about Mother Earth instead of Father God. And then finally, you will need a global judicial system. And I believe that system is already in play. You know, if you don't worship the Antichrist, what he's going to do is you'll have your head cut off. Well, that system is already happening in Sharia law. If you blaspheme Allah, God, their God, well, they'll just cut your head off.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Well, let me tell you something about the devil. He's not a generous personality. He's very selfish. That's the reason why he was thrown out of heaven. He worshiped himself. I will be like them. I. But just like God did not mind sharing his glory with Jesus, neither will the devil or Satan do the same thing with his. Revelation chapter 13:2, the dragon gives the beast his power, he gives him his throne, and he gives him great authority. The Antichrist is killed, and there is a false resurrection, as we will see.
And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast.
Just like Jesus' resurrection created followers of God, this resurrection creates followers of the devil.
And they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying,
Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Again, the reason why the devil gives his power and throne and authority to the Antichrist, because he knows at the end he will get the worship.
And there were given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. It was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
So now we see that he is given to make war. So in essence, what it's saying is the Antichrist is allowed to kill Christians without any global resistance. And personally, I think that secret war has begun. Let's look at it. Fox News reports July 6, 2017. Although the study was released this month, the finding that 90,000 Christians, or one Christian every 6 minutes, were killed in 2016. Even though 90,000 Christian martyrs might seem like a lot in 1 year, the think tank maintains that 90,000 Christians have died each year on the average from 2005 to 2015. So if you do the math, that's almost 1 million Christians killed all around the world, and you don't hear anything in the news about it. Let's look at some other things. Police burn church buildings in central India. China, Christian couple jailed and penniless for selling the Bible. India, Hindu authorities shut down church following complaints about conversions to Christianity. U.S. urged to add Nigeria as country of particular concern after killing Christians. Sudan, courts ordered destruction of evangelical church buildings. China introduces a new financial regulation to clamp down on churches. I'd like to just take a minute and tell you something I learned the other day. I was with a missionary to China, and now China has the digital yuan. Now, in Revelation chapter 13, we're going to be talking about the cashless society and the mark of the beast. Well, that's already happening. As a matter of fact, China does have the digital yuan. Now, that means that the government owns all of the money, and they disperse it. And if they're dispersing it, you cannot use your money. They'll know where every penny you spend goes. So you cannot spend your money on illegal activities. And according to the Chinese government, the church that is not registered as the church represented in China is an illegal act. So you cannot sponsor the church. So they will defund the church. Not only that, but Nigeria, Islamic State releases video showing execution of 20 Christians. Nigeria, armed police stood by as Christian student was murdered, stoned to death by Muslims. Well, you might say, well, that's a long way from here. Well, let's get a little closer to home. We find that the U.S. media shamefully justifies a string of Canadian church burnings. 48 Christian churches in Canada have been burned down or vandalized as persecution continues, according to internationallifenews.com. But Christians are being targeted for what is called polite persecution, reports Christianity Daily. It says this: if Christians in the Middle East need to fear the machete, Christians in the Western world need to fear the media, higher education, activist organizations, and government. They are the ones advocating or imposing a secular agenda on religious institutions. Now, we've got the supporting cast for that, and let's look at that. First, you've got the media, higher education, activist organizations, and governmental policies. Well, when you look at the media, it says censorship, or censor what is really happening. The Notre Dame consumed by flames was instantly described by the joint mainstream media as an isolated happening. Why? Over 1,000 churches have been set afire, vandalized, and subjugated to theft in France in 2018 alone. Over 80% of the desecrated places of worship in France are Christian churches, according to police reports. It is a massive scandal. WorldNet Daily, May 16, 2019. Now, the question is, could Islam be behind these anti-Christian attacks? You see, France holds the largest number of individuals identifying as Muslims in Western Europe. Then it goes on to say, Christians targeted Nigerian Muslims kill 9, destroy homes and property. Incited by rumors of blasphemy against Islam, rampaging Muslim youth killed at least 9 Christians, burned down churches, and destroyed businesses and homes of Christians in Nigeria. The CAN Association, which is the Christian Association of Nigeria, reported many people also were injured or driven from their homes. CAN leaders have been pleading for the state and federal authorities to do more to stop the Christian massacres in their area. Next time, we will start off with the media again, and that being silenced.